Hello everybody and welcome back. We got another part to that blue stuff video as we promised in the last one. Today we are going to be casting plaster molds and we're going to be aiming for a really lovely finished product like this right here. I'll bring it close to the camera so you can see it. These really realistic pillars, we're going to show you how you can make them with the blue stuff. So Jimmy, take it away.
Okay, Ryan, I got the plaster of Paris. There's enough left to do this job, maybe about 4 or 5 more pillars. I've got the release agent here, and I've got these, which I'll explain to you what I did with those reinforcements later. So our goal is in the last segment, we pulled this pillar out from the mold, and now we've got to add silicone in there as the mold release, and we're going to mix up plaster of Paris and pour it in there. Now it sounds very easy, but plaster of Paris can be temperamental. Plaster of Paris sets really quick, so you've got to act quickly. In our case, what I did here, guys, is I took coat hanger wire and I cut it into lengths because I want to set the plaster in there and push these coat hangers in there to stabilize the pillar so they don't crack and break easily. I'm thinking I might even use 2 of them, but I'm not sure if that's necessary. But because you're with me, this is the first one I'm doing. So I'm going to take some of this and spray the mold release inside. The blue stuff was dry; it had no more water on it. And I'm going to get all around the edges. Then I'm going to go around the perimeter, so if any of this messy plaster gets on it, it can come off easily. All right, so we're not in a hurry yet, but once I start stirring this stuff, we will be. Now this is plaster of Paris from DAP. You can get it at Ace Hardware. You can get it most places. And there's some stuff that has fine fiberglass in it. This is just pure plaster of Paris. I found that 1 scoop this big is enough. Now it's very hard to add more plaster of Paris. So when you add water, you've got to do it very carefully and slowly. I'll show you. I do not take chances, because if you make it too soft, you're screwed. Let's stir this up. Looks lumpy and bumpy, like, oh man, I need a lot more water. Don't be fooled. It doesn't take much at all. Just a few wisps. Still hard. Note I'm using the wire that I'm going to drop into the cast plaster. Uh-oh. Uh-oh. I think I just did what I told you guys not to do. See how quickly that got soupy? Now the problem with soupy plaster Paris is not only does it take longer to dry, but it will have bubbles in it. Let me stir it up enough. Now, you might say, well, let me just add more plaster of Paris. Well, it doesn't work that well. My experience is that if you don't get it the first shot, you don't got a good mix. It's very inexpensive. I could throw this away and stop complaining. Okay, Ryan, do you see the bubbles in there? Mm-hmm. I set up a piece of tape so that I can put my dirty, junky stuff on top of it. Now what I'm going to do is use centrifugal force to force the plaster down and the bubbles up. So I'm going to swing this carefully. I know my track's behind me, so I got to be super careful. And by doing this, it forces the bubbles up and out. You see that? Otherwise, I get cast bubbles inside there. So now I'm going to begin to pour. I only get a minute. Yeah, this is pretty soupy, guys. Hopefully it works out. All right, I'm going to get my wire. I'm going to get the rest of it in there. And I'm going to wait a little bit since it's so soupy. I'm going to wait a little bit before I put my reinforcements in there, because I don't want them to sink to the very bottom. I'll take my coffee stirrer and get the rest of it out. So this turned out to be a little bit of a bigger pillar than I anticipated. Get the rest of this out of there. As soupy as it was, it's not cooperating, sticking to the bottom. Squeegee it out. We're doing this in real time, so any mistakes I make, you will benefit by them. Throw that away. I'm going to take my wire. I'm going to drop it in like this. I'll take another one and drop it in alongside of it. And that's going to reinforce my pillar. Thankfully, it didn't drop to the bottom. So I'm going to set those down inside there. See that, Ryan? All right. All right, now, what I like to do is tap this a few times to try to force any bubbles out and try to get him to be as level as I possibly can make it. So with that now, I usually wait 24 hours. It should dry hard in about 4 hours. In about another minute, this will be unworkable. So I'm going to set this down here, and I'm going to show you what we cast earlier. And this is what it takes to pull the plaster piece out of the mold. Notice that the blue stuff is flexing enough to allow me to work it free. And keep working it. You have to be patient. If you try to hurry something like this, your plaster will crack. Now, when I'm not on camera, I take my time, but I don't want to bore you guys, so I'm kind of hurrying a little bit more than I usually do. There we go. So we got him out of there. Now, it doesn't look very good at all, does it, guys? It's got all that flash that has to be taken care of. So we're going to do that right now. Before we reuse this, we have to clean out all the debris on the inside and silicone it again. What we're going to do now is break off any chunks that we find that are easy to get off with our fingers. And remember, this piece is going to form a T like this out of this piece. And this forms the garage doors in the back of the pits. So I need one smooth side. I got to get this side smooth. And I intend on making it go from that to that. So since this is not totally cured, I'm going to take the one that is cured and show you how I do that. Now, you might think, well, I'm going to take a file or a piece of sandpaper and grind that down to its correct size, which you can see right there on the edges of those blocks. That's how far I got to take it down. And I could use sandpaper and I can use a file, but it gums things up. So thinking out of the box, this is what I use, guys. This is a cement block. And the beauty of a cement block is I can rough sand on this and wash it off and use it again. Can't do that with a file or sandpaper. So, with a right angle square handy, I need a right angle square as I do this. I have a right angle square here. Okay, well, we'll use this right angle square. I had a small one somewhere, but as usual, when you need it, it isn't there. So I need to make sure that that is 90 to the surface. So I'm going to sand. And again, this stone here, the cement block, can be washed off, or I can turn it over and use more. I need to look at that. I got to lean on this side a little bit more. And I'll keep doing that until I break through to the seam line, which I'm almost there. It doesn't take much. Now this side is already smooth because that was the bottom surface. This was the surface that our wood pressed up against, and that's why it was so mishmashed. So at this point, it stands square, you see, and I can begin to carve a bit. So what I'm going to do now is take my knife with an X-Acto blade, and I'm going to begin carving. Now normally I do this outside because it makes a mess, but I'm going to begin just carving the flash off just a bit. See that? Just like that, the high points off. And then once I get that done, then I go back and I make sure that each block is individually carved and exposed. Do the other side now. Got to take any chunks off there. Make it look like it's a stone block holding up my pits. And that piece right there. Okay, with that done now, I'm going to cut a little V into wherever the stone goes around the corner. So we're doing this real time, so you're going to see how long this takes, each pillar. And including the centerpiece, I think I need 28 pillars. So there's a little air bubble that was in there. Now, with that done, I'm going to take a little X-Acto saw right here. Now, this is not a regular X-Acto knife blade, guys. It's got a saw blade, if you can see it. See that back there? It's got a saw. It's got teeth. So what I'm going to do now is cut the mortar joint between them. I probably don't have to do this because nobody's going to stick their head into the pits to see this. But if Gus or Derek stick their camera in there, you'll see it. And I'll look foolish. Okay. So now we've got the mortar lines in. I'm just going to carve these stones here to make them look hewn. On this side, I'm going to turn this over. And we went from a plaster cast that had all kinds of flash now to what looks like carved stone on the far side. To finish this off, because there's always little imperfections in the plaster, I'm going to show you one imperfection right there. You see that little bubble? I'm going to, this is too coarse to use there. So I'm going to take fine sandpaper right here. And I'm going to push aside all this excess. You recognize this? You guys know what this is? This is for my garbage cans. I don't throw that in the garbage. Waste not, want not. All right, so now I take some old sandpaper. Super fine sandpaper, like 200. I'm just going to, 1, 2, done. We're all done. Now this side doesn't need any attention because it's going to fit up against a pillar like that to form a T. And this is what the finished product looks like. So make 28 of these and be all done. So that's it, Ryan. We've gone from the thermoplastic, Lego, carved the Lego, put it in the blue stuff, boiled it, formed it, released it, added the silicone, poured the plaster of Paris. See, that's setting up. Popped it out and took the flash off. And that's our finished product.
It's really, really, really an awesome method, and we save so much time by just repeating the molds rather than just doing it over and over and over again for each building. You can really sort of do an interchangeable parts sort of system with this, but it's really cool. We go from something like that over there, like you can see, these concept pieces made of Lego, and with a simple mold, you turn this into this. And after it gets painted, it's going to look really awesome. So, let's see if I can set this here. So, looks really, really cool, doesn't it? We're gonna have more videos like this for you guys in future. So please do stop by the channel again. If you like this sort of content, be sure to subscribe to our channel, and we're gonna be bringing you a lot more real soon. Thank you. Signing off.